Ninjago Legends Monstrosity just premiered, so let's go through all 3 episodes and give our analysis and theories today. Now, if you don't want any spoilers, come back to this video, but let's get straight into it. So again, there's 3 episodes and they're each about roughly 5 minutes long, and I just gotta be right and direct. This is not Ninjago's best work in my opinion. Again, you have your right to your own opinion. You can say whatever you want in the comments down below and give your own thoughts. But I just think that there has been a lot of better content out there for Ninjago. Speaking back to the last series of shorts was the Elemental Mechs, and I do think there was at least some sort of story there, and it did actually incorporate into the show, seeing those mechs in Season 2, Part 1. This series just really does not need to exist. I get it, they're trying to promote new sets, they're trying to appeal to an older audience, which has people have grown up, it makes sense. Yet I don't feel like there's enough time with these characters, specifically the Guardian Dragon or the Fire Knight mech, to really care for them much because we don't even know where they've gone. It seems like they're just staying behind in the land of monsters while Kai now leaves and goes off whoever knows where. Now to start, we see where Kai ends up directly after the merge happens, so not when he goes and finds Lloyd and then comes back. No, this is him right immediately after the merge, so he doesn't take the bounty with him. We don't even know how he gets the bounty back. That doesn't even answer that question. So the series actually kind of leaves us with more questions than answers, and that's kind of left me a little bit disappointed. Another bit of disappointment is we do see Master Wu in this, but as a ghost and as a monster, not actually in the series, just to kind of promote a new minifigure for him, and that does leave a lot to be desired. So in the first episode, titled To Become a Monster, we kind of see Kai arrive in the land of monsters after the merge, and we're also introduced to the Guardian Dragon, who is just quarreling with this other monster because he has just ate her kin, essentially. And basically, Kai is telling this dragon, hey, you cannot go after this monster because if you just kill this monster, you're basically going to become a monster. And how the Guardian Dragon says, okay, well, eventually everyone becomes monsters anyway, so maybe I might as well kill this monster because this monster will become something even greater if I just let it live. Ultimately, Kai convinces the Guardian Dragon, okay, you can't kill this monster whatsoever, and then the episode just kind of ends. Again, doesn't really add much of the story, just kind of tells us where Kai is at the time and how the Guardian Dragon is really frustrated. But because we don't get much time with the Guardian Dragon as a character, we don't really get to see her go through a very emotional story. It's just kind of something that happens when her child dies because of this monster. It's not like you actually get to sit with it for a little bit and actually feel for that pain. Now in the second episode, we get to see a little bit more interesting stuff, I do think. We get to see Kai as he enters this cave and all of a sudden, bam, gets attacked by this mysterious monster, who we actually learn later on is actually the old Master of Fire. We know there have been plenty of past Elemental Masters, and it doesn't even have to be related or an ancestor. As we know in the past, Nia and Maya aren't exactly related to Naiad, but again, they each share the same power. Again, Euphrasia and Moro, not related, they can hold different senses of power. And after getting defeated, killed, sent to the departed realm, or in this case, cursed to become a monster, that elemental power passes on to someone else. After Kai kind of frees himself, he runs into this elemental mech that was created by this past Master of Fire, who's just kind of incapacitated at the moment until Kai rebuilds its own like weapon, kind of its own core that allows it to move again and actually be able to fight. And again, the Fire Knight mech is really keen on not failing another Fire Master, so it joins the battle, reveals that again, this monster that just took Kai is actually the past Fire Master. Now, if you're trying to guess how long ago this could be the Fire Master before Kai's father, Ray. It could be a couple generations before that. If we're really trying to get back, we'd have to think that the soonest we saw Ray was during the Serpentine Wars. So we could be seeing this like 80-ish years ago, up to a century ago, if we're trying to gauge how long ago this could have been. The mech doesn't seem in the worst condition again. And so with the help of Kai, reigniting the mech and using his own firepower to embrace this mech, then they're able to release the spirit of this old Fire Master who might move on, possibly to the departed realm or somewhere else. Maybe he does exist as a separate monster. Then we get into the last and final episode called False Light. This is probably the most interesting of the 3 episodes because here we see Kai starting to lose himself. He's kind of starting to become this monster, starting to kind of lose his comedy side and really embrace a more darkened tone, which is of course what the series is trying to go to. Lashes out at the Fire Knight mech saying, "Hey, why are you still following me?" Even though the whole job of the mech is just to protect the Master of Fire after being built by a previous Master of Fire. Eventually, Kai runs into this projection of Master Wu, thinking it's his real sensei, which of course is just absolutely not true. Again, this is right after the merge, so he has no idea where his friends are. As he says later in the episode, he thinks they're all dead and he has no idea where anyone is because he still thinks he's kind of in Ninjago until in one of the previous episodes that he was told by the Guardian Dragon that he's in the land of monsters. And then he sees his projection of his friends in the water and he thinks his way back to the real Ninjago is through the water, as if it's some sort of portal through the realms. And so he just kind of goes right through. And then we also see the Guardian Dragon show up and try to go into the water as well, seeing her own kin in there. And then the Fire Knight mech also sees this projection of the past elemental Master of Fire, but the mech doesn't really fall for it, sees the creature, sees the monster, tries to fight it, does enough to free the Guardian Dragon and Kai, to which Kai delivers a finishing blow in what is probably the most aesthetically pleasing of these episodes. And then that's just kind of it, honestly. Then Kai just kind of goes off on his own. We don't even know how he gets back to Ninjago. We don't even know how he gets back on the old bounty. We also know that the Land of Monsters is really far from main Ninjago just because of the whole compass dynamics and him trying to find his way back. And he just says it was a really long journey. And as we see in Dragons Rising Season 1, Part 1, he says he had to get through a lot of stuff just to get where he's at. So we can understand there's a whole lot more to the story. Whether we'll see it in a new Ninjago Legends, which is rumored for next year, or maybe we'll see some other story. Again, Nia did say that she saw a lot of stuff before she ended up in the Realm of Madness, now the Kingdom of Madness, so perhaps we can see that story, which might be a little bit more interesting. It'll likely have the same exact type of animation if it's trying to project towards an older audience. Probably not in the Land of Monsters. Could be a return there. It would make sense that the brother and sister do end up in the same place and just have no idea, or are looking at each other and thinking they're monsters. So if I were to rank this kind of series, I would give it a 6 out of 10. It's good, it's content. After a bunch of leaked episodes came out, it does give us a little something so we don't have this long hiatus of Ninjago content. Again, it doesn't really add much to the story. If anything, it just, again, it raises more questions than answers. Perhaps we are setting up some great crossover event when a bunch of Ninjago Legends series is all combined and then we get to see returning characters, or maybe these are just one-off series and then we'll never see them again, which would kind of be disappointing. Like the fact that there will be probably never a reference to the Fire Knight mech again or to the Guardian Dragon at all. Perhaps the only reference you might get in like the main series of Dragons Rising is Kai referencing back to the vision he saw during Season 2 Part 1 of Dragons Rising, which we never as the audience got to see, which is when they're in that cave and all the ninjas see their greatest fears. But again, not really much to theorize because we already see what happens after this. Maybe they'll return to the Land of Monsters, but honestly, I do kind of think they wasted this realm if we don't go back to it at all. Otherwise, this would be a great way to set up something in the future, but since there's nothing else that relates to the Land of Monsters, and this barely is referenced in the show at all, I will say the mech sacrifice was actually satisfying to watch in the end, and it does give a little bit of closure, but again, we don't really get that much screen time with these characters, so we really missed out on seeing this really cool Master of Fire develop into a villain monster after being titled good by the mech. And again, we just kind of like lose all that. Now the mech's gone, we might just see the Guardian Dragon again. And again, this is an okay series. If it was just standalone, it would be pretty good. The animation style is great. But as for content itself, I really can't rate it that high. But again, let me know what you think in the comments. Tell me if I'm wrong. Again, express your opinion. And I'll see you in another video.